Some walking habits don't hurt immediately. They quietly change how force moves through your joints until walking starts feeling older than you actually are. If you walk every day but still wake up stiff, if your knees, hips, or ankles feel tight after walking instead of better, there's a reason most people never consider. And it may have less to do with aging and more to do with how your body is handling movement every single day. Because some walking habits don't cause pain right away. They create tiny amounts of extra stress, repeated thousands of times over months and years, until the joints slowly begin feeling heavier, tighter, and harder to recover. And the difficult part is this: most of these habits feel completely normal. In fact, one of the biggest walking mistakes after 50 is something many people think is actually helping their joints. In this video, we'll look at 3 daily walking habits that can quietly increase stiffness over time, what they're really doing inside the body, and the simple adjustments that can make walking feel smoother, lighter, and less exhausting. In fact, the second habit we'll discuss alters the physics of your entire lower body, something most walkers don't realize until the joint damage is already done. Walking is still one of the healthiest things you can do as you get older. It supports circulation, helps control blood sugar, protects balance and mobility, keeps the brain more active. And for many people, regular walking is one of the biggest reasons they stay independent later in life. But after 50, the body responds differently to repetition. Small movement inefficiencies that once meant nothing begin adding up. Muscles don't recover quite as quickly, joints become less tolerant of uneven pressure, and stiffness lingers longer than it used to. That doesn't mean your body is failing. It means movement quality starts mattering more than movement quantity. And often, it is these unnoticed habits repeated every day that make the biggest difference in how the joints feel later. The first mistake actually happens before your walk even properly begins. It starts when people unconsciously rush their pace the moment they step outside. The pace becomes fast immediately, the steps become heavier, the breathing becomes slightly hurried, and instead of easing into movement, the body jumps straight into repetitive impact before everything is moving efficiently. That matters more than people think, because during the first few minutes of walking, your muscles are still organizing movement patterns. The hips are waking up. The ankles are adjusting to balance. The stabilizing muscles around the knees are becoming active, step by step. But when walking begins too aggressively, the joints temporarily absorb more force before the muscles fully settle into their supportive role. Not enough to cause sudden injury, but enough to increase unnecessary stress over time, especially in people already dealing with stiffness, arthritis, or reduced muscle strength. Many people describe the beginning of their walk as the most uncomfortable part, and often this is one reason why. The adjustment is surprisingly simple. Treat the first few minutes of your walk like a transition, not a performance. Walk slightly slower than feels natural at first. Let your steps land quietly. Allow your breathing to settle into rhythm. You're not taking it easy, you're giving the body time to organize movement efficiently before increasing pace. And ironically, many people find they can actually walk longer and more comfortably once they stop attacking the beginning of the walk. This brings us to a much more subtle issue, one that develops so gradually most people simply mistake it for normal aging. Over time, many walkers slowly lose something called rotational movement during walking. The upper body becomes stiffer, the arms swing less, the rib cage and hips stop rotating naturally against each other, and instead of movement flowing smoothly through the body, walking becomes flatter, stiffer, and more knee-dominant. Here's why that matters. Healthy walking is designed to spread force throughout the entire body. The shoulders rotate slightly, the torso rotates slightly, the hips rotate slightly. The arms counterbalance movement automatically. This natural rotation helps absorb and distribute force efficiently with every step. But when that rotational movement disappears, more force travels directly into the knees, hips, and lower back instead. Walking starts feeling heavier, less fluid, more tiring. Imagine pushing a shopping cart with locked wheels. It still moves forward, but every push feels rougher and less efficient. The body works similarly, and one of the biggest reasons this happens is simple stiffness from daily life. Too much sitting, too little upper body movement, walking while tense or distracted. Even emotional stress can subtly stiffen the way people move. The adjustment is not to exaggerate movement. It's simply to let walking become more natural again. Allow your arms to swing freely instead of holding them stiffly at your sides. Keep tension out of your shoulders. Let your chest stay open instead of collapsed forward. And as you walk, think less about forcing steps and more about allowing the body to move rhythmically. For many people, this one adjustment makes walking feel smoother almost immediately. And over time, it often reduces fatigue throughout the entire body, not just the joints. The third mistake, however, happens entirely after the walk is over, meaning almost nobody connects it to their stiffness later in the day. You finish your walk, and then suddenly, movement stops completely. You sit, you scroll on your phone, you rest for a long period without realizing how abruptly the body just transitioned from active movement to total stillness. That abrupt stop matters more than people think. Because while you're walking, circulation increases, muscles contract rhythmically, fluids move through tissues more efficiently. The body is actively managing stress and recovery in real time. But when movement suddenly drops to zero, stiffness can settle in faster, especially around joints already dealing with inflammation or reduced mobility. There's also another hidden effect. Warm muscles cool best through gradual reduction in activity. But when they cool too quickly in a shortened seated position, they often tighten around the joints as they settle. That pulling sensation many people feel later in the knees, hips, or lower back after exercise, sometimes it starts right here, not because the walk was harmful, but because the recovery transition was too abrupt. The adjustment is simple. For the last few minutes of your walk, gradually slow your pace, and after coming home, stay lightly active for a few more minutes before fully sitting down. Walk around the house, move the ankles gently, loosen the hips. Let the body gradually downshift instead of slamming on the brakes. Many people notice that post-walk stiffness becomes noticeably less intense once they stop ending movement so abruptly. And there's one final thing worth mentioning. Many people walk while mentally disconnected from the movement itself. The mind is somewhere else entirely, thinking, worrying, rushing internally, checking notifications. And while the body can still walk this way, movement quality often changes without people realizing it. The steps become heavier, the posture stiffens, breathing becomes shallower, coordination becomes less natural. Sometimes the body moves best when attention returns to the movement itself. Even brief awareness during walking, noticing your posture, your breathing, the rhythm of your steps, can improve movement quality far more than people expect. To look at it systematically, we can summarize the core mistakes. First, starting walks too aggressively instead of easing into movement. Second, losing natural rotation and rhythm during walking, causing the joints to absorb more force directly. Third, stopping too abruptly after the walk and allowing stiffness to settle in immediately. And finally, walking while completely disconnected from how the body is moving. None of these habits seem dramatic. That's exactly why they matter, because small movement patterns repeated every day quietly shape how your joints feel over time. Protecting your joints usually doesn't require extreme exercise or complicated routines. Often, it's small, consistent adjustments that create the biggest long-term relief. And if you're already walking regularly, you're already giving your body something valuable. Now, it's simply about making those walks work with your joints instead of against them. If this video helped you, give it a like so more people dealing with stiffness and joint discomfort can find it. And if you enjoy calm, practical videos about mobility, healthy aging, and walking well after 50, consider subscribing. And before you go, let me know in the comments, which of these walking habits do you think most people never notice? Take care of yourself and keep moving.